Well, it looks like Cloud Imperial Games could be once again testing the patience of the player base with another potentially controversial mechanic. Reports are circulating that Star Citizen of Front 1 could introduce a 5% death tax, a financial penalty each time a player dies. While nothing is confirmed yet, several sources suggest this is a real possibility. And let me tell you here, I think that this idea is raising quite a few eyebrows. Just have a look at Spectrum here to have an idea of what the community thinks about this. Anyway, so why is Cloud Imperial Games even considering this? The rumored mechanics here seems to be tied with the introduction of item recovery tier 0. In Star Citizen 4.1, players will no longer lose their gear when they die because it cannot be looted anymore. Instead, they will respawn with all of their equipment intact except for ammo. Sounds great, right? Well, Cloud Imperial Games might be looking for a way to make death still feel a little risky and impactful, since removing the risk of losing gear could reduce the consequences of dying, and Cloud Imperial Games want people to feel consequences when they die. There is one major problem though, is that this death tax is a terrible move, at least in the current state of the game. Here's why. If Star Citizen were a polished game with fair and consistent mechanics, maybe this tax could work. But as we all know, most deaths in Star Citizen aren't because of a lack of skills or bad decisions. No, the majority of the time we die due to bugs and glitches in the game itself. There are numerous ways Star Citizen kill players, and none of them are related to player mistakes. For example, players often fall through elevators or through the ground, right? Or they get stuck. Trams and trains randomly delete players, and server crashes or 30Ks leave players stranded, forcing them to sometimes respawn without even pressing the backspace key. We could also mention ships randomly exploding after landing safely, and elevator doors refusing to open, which can trap players into a death loop. Gravity glitches sometimes turn ships into uncontrollable death traps, and NPCs can shoot through walls in bunkers occasionally. And let's not forget also sometimes that hospital beds would not let you move and you get stuck after respawning, right? This has happened to me a few times. Not recently though, but in the past, yes. So please let me know in the comment section down below, should we really be penalized with a financial tax for something that's entirely out of our control? As far as I'm concerned, I don't think so. I think it's way too early for such a tax. Now, in the long term though, once the game is more stable and bugs are ironed out, a death tax could make sense. But right now, it's not the right time. Instead of punishing players, Cloud Imperial Games should focus on creating alternative systems that make players think twice before hitting the backspace key. One option could be expanding player rescue services. Organizations like medevac teams could be incentivized to respond to distress calls, making it viable to respawning. Additionally, a medical game loop could be introduced or further expanded, where players could hire medics to help them avoid death. I mean, it already exists, but why not using that system entirely to avoid pressing backspace and then pay that supposedly 5% tax? Another possible approach would be to expand the insurance system. Instead of imposing a blanket 5% tax, Cloud Imperial Games could create a system where insurance claims are tied to death penalties. Players could have a medical insurance plan that covers some costs, but with limitations, such as cooldowns and other restrictions. Now, when I'm talking about cooldowns, I'm not talking about cooldowns for respawning, but perhaps cooldowns for the gear that was used before. Maybe you have to wait for an hour or two before you're able to use the same armor that you had, which would be a great way to not lose your armor, but at the same time still feel some consequences when dying. And last but not least, if there are no players to assist, NPC medics or security teams could respond to calls for help. I think it's really about time that NPCs come and act as medics, adding both immersion and gameplay depth. These alternatives to the death tax could make survival more engaging and meaningful without the frustration of being penalized for something out of the player's control. So, what's the verdict here? A death tax right now would be, I believe, a disaster. Most players would feel like they would be punished for things that would be out of their control, not because of skill or poor decisions. But in the future, once the game is stable, it could be an interesting idea. But even then, punishing players with a tax isn't the way to go. incentivizing survival through things like medical gameplay, rescue missions, or some insurance systems would be far more effective, in my opinion. But what do you think? Would you accept a death tax in Star Citizen right now? Or do you think that Cloud Imperial Games are out of their mind for considering this idea at this stage? Let me know in the comment section down below. And before you go, don't forget to enter our giveaway this month for a chance to win an Anvil Super Hornet Mark II Heartseeker. Simply subscribe to the channel, comment to any videos posted this month. 10 entries will be put into the Wheel of Names. Patreon and YouTube members get automatic entries. Guys, shout out to Dr. Forbid, Shadowrise, Yokosha, and Doki Doker. I have been Irad, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Everything's all set, the verse is calling, I wonder what I'll get. Yeah, I'm hyped to go, I'm ready to fly. Looking up, I hear the call of the sky. I get to the lift, a smile on my face. I hear it's coming and my heart starts to race. The countdown's done, the adventure's near. Then it all goes black, everything is